Thank you all for coming. I'm Jess Haberman. I'm the Senior Acquisitions Editor for Data Science at O'Reilly Media. And my talk is about what not to do when pitching a book. And we'll talk about other different formats of content as well. But I just wanted to talk about best practices, and we'll just jump into it. So I sort of have 3 things to not do and 3 things to do. So we'll start with the do not do. So the first thing is do not submit a proposal yet. Make sure you're ready. And here are the things you want to do. Find out which editor manages the space for the topic that you want to write about, or that you've already written about. You might have content done already. This isn't difficult to do. Just like Google search, like check LinkedIn. Get an editor contact at the publisher where you want to pitch, and ask who manages the space. Let them know the topic that you're planning, and they'll get you in touch with the right person. That helps you get to the person who's making the decision for you, and who can sort of speak most with the most information about whether it makes sense. You might, if you're flexible on your topic, you might talk to the editor about what kinds of topics and information they're looking for. That's a really helpful way to make sure that you're aligned with the publisher's interests. Before giving them a proposal, especially if it's not completed yet, you might just suggest a couple ideas, and you might have a brainstorming call with your editor. These are all really great ways to sort of get all your thoughts formulated in a really sort of business forward kind of proposal. And make sure you've done your research. Like know what topic or topics you want to talk about, and know what the market is for that content. That just means looking up what else is out there, and that might be other books. It might be training courses on different sites. It might be YouTube's videos. It might be Medium articles. There are a lot of different formats for content. Just know who's talking about the topic, and what information is freely available versus what might be available in more long form. And know what the submission guidelines are for the publisher, and have their proposal template with you before you get started. So that's a lot of stuff to do before you submit an actual proposal. When you're actually writing a proposal, my biggest pet peeve is to tell your editor that there's nothing available on the topic that you're writing about. One, that's probably not true. Like I said, it can take a form in a lot of different formats. So it might be a video, it might be a Medium article. There is something out there. If there is nothing out there on your topic, I do not want it. I don't want to be the editor or the publisher that's putting something out there for the first time without data to support that it is worth our significant investment. So definitely, it's more important to have the right book to market than the first book to market. At least that's O'Reilly's stance. There may be other publishers who have a different strategy, and you can start to figure that out with a little bit of research. And know that your editor is forming a business case to invest in the book. A book is an investment of many thousands of dollars for the company, so they need to be able to prove that it's really worth the company's investment. So think about it. You may feel very personally, connected to the topic or to the people who are writing about that topic. You might be very passionate about it, which is also good. But know that we're making it a business decision. So bring data bring very well-researched data to your book proposal. You'll see in a template from O'Reilly that we ask very specific questions. We use resources like Google Trends, the number of presentations at a top conference on a specific topic, YouTube, views. We might look at somebody's Twitter handle or a hashtag to see how popular it is, what the engagement looks like. So there's a lot of ways to present data. And then, the technology should be mature enough to remain up to date for 3 to 4 years after you've proposed the content. So think long term. If it's a cool brand new tool that you think is really interesting and you know a lot about it, that's great. But if it's still changing a lot, we need to think twice before we put print content into the world that is hard to change. So those are my first one more do not do is do not try to please everyone. Know who your audience is. Carefully identify your target audience. For example, there's a couple things I see often in proposals where, especially for a beginner audience, targeting both students and somewhat experienced practitioners. That's hard. Those are two different audiences, really. They buy books in different ways. They're buying college textbooks versus they're buying something maybe on O'Reilly.com or on Amazon. So those are things to think about. Another example is content that targets executive leaders and data engineers. They have very different goals and they're structured in different ways. So think about who is going to most benefit from your content. In terms of knowing your audience, who's reading your proposal, that is different from who is reading your book. So you're writing content in your proposal for both audiences. Your description is targeting the person who wants to read your book, but your data for doing the book is targeting the people at the publisher. That might be, that's going to be your editor. That might be your editor's boss. That might be other folks who are sort of weighing in, maybe a sales team. So that's something to keep in mind as well. And just know what the challenges are for your audience. What's motivating them to seek out your book? Are there keywords that they're searching for? These are all things that you'll be asked in a proposal to be thinking about. So those are the three, to sum up, the three do nots. Do not submit a proposal until you're ready. Don't tell your editor there's nothing else like your content out there. And don't try to please everyone. Any questions before we move on to the things you do want to do? No questions from the masses. Okay, so we'll continue. So be open-minded. Consider other projects and opportunities that can lead to your dream project. Especially if you're a first-time author, diving into a brand new book, a big comprehensive book on a new tool is daunting, and it takes a long time. So your editor might steer you in a different direction so that your dream project can become more of a reality and that you can accomplish it better. So that might mean serving as like an online course instructor. We do that at O'Reilly quite a lot, and there are a lot of really great opportunities to do that. You might present your concept at a few conferences first. That really helps to get some people on the ground who are using that particular tool technology, get Q&As, and understand where those folks are having trouble. Because identifying the problems that they're having is going to be the best material for your project. Another option is to serve as a reviser, sort of a lead co-author in a book that exists that that the original author may not be able to take on. So we do this a lot. That really should be led by your editor, unless there's a book and that you believe has been successful, that you see is out of date and that you want to help revise. If you can reach out to an editor and say hey, what's happening with, sequel cookbook? and we'd be like, oh yeah, we'd really like to revise that. We're struggling with the original author to make that happen. So can you help us? That might be an opportunity for you as well. Something to consider. And then, if you're pitching a new book, you might consider a co-author or a co-author team. That might mean people that you work with. It might mean people outside of your company. To be able to sort of tag team and have a broader perspective in terms of the project you're putting together. And that might, it's always good for us to have diverse voices and diverse opinions and just diversity in general. So always be thinking about who else can I loop in? And that's also important when you think about, we hire tech reviewers, so we want to make sure that there are other folks looking at the material. I often ask tech reviewers to look at my proposal and to look at the content as it's delivered. So we constantly have other voices sort of chiming in to make sure we're on the right track. Because trust me, they know a lot more about data engineering than I do. So it's always good to have a few experts in your back pocket. So I mentioned this a little bit. Do offer a solution to a problem. It's really important that you have a clear point of view. That you're not trying to please everyone. You have an opinion about how to solve a problem. But be agnostic if you can. There's probably a lot of different tools to try to solve a problem. For example, if you are pitching something on data quality, there are a lot of tools for cleaning and pre-processing data. So I would rather see a project that talks about the variety of tools than one tool in general. That widens the audience a little bit and helps you just share just a more diverse opinion about a few different tools that can be helpful. And then my last my last to-do is to think broadly. If you're writing a book, for example, you're going to need to fill 300 to 500 pages. Ideally, you're not writing more than that. Please don't give me 700 pages on anything. But sometimes it happens. But in a proposal, that's probably where you're going to end up being. Maybe 250, but 250 to 500 is really the area you're trying to fit. No matter if you're in that span, you're going to need at least 10 chapters. So think about how you organize that content. How can you break it up into really digestible chunks so that it's understandable to the reader and it's easy to digest. And your editor can help you with this. So it's always good to just work closely with your editor on an outline, and just always think about your proposal as a draft. Don't get too attached to anything in particular, especially a title. Don't get attached to what your cover is going to look like or what animal you want on your cover. All these things are decisions that get made throughout the process, and you should always try to be open-minded about what that process looks like, and help other informed opinions be part of that process as well. So those three again are be open-minded, offer a solution to a problem, and to think broadly. So that's basically my 3 do's and don'ts. Any questions about any of that I can answer for you guys? Okay, all right. Well, I covered everything, clearly, so that's great. Please feel free, if you have a project that you'd like to propose or you have some topics that you've been mulling, reach out to me. I'm here today and tomorrow. I'm happy to set up a meeting, or just we can meet in the hallway for 10 minutes. That's totally fine. Again, my name is Jess Haberman, Haberman. And I'm on LinkedIn. I'm the only Jess Haberman at O'Reilly, so I'm not hard to find. So reach out if I can help you in any way. And thanks for listening. Thank you.